Namaste. I'm your friend Rushika Khare and welcome to Calligraphy with Rushika. Today, a great personality will be joining us. Welcome Rupal Gupta to the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rushika. I'm very excited to be here with you.
So, without wasting any time, let's start with the first session, which is career modeling. So, the first question of this session is always what is the profession and how do we address it?
What I'm working on is I'm working on a technology solutions company known as Elspec. I'm a director of strategy at Elspec India. And what Elspec does is it provides solutions in the space of power quality, helping companies solve their power quality challenges, save electricity, save energy in their manufacturing or facilities or utilities. So that's what I'm working on. And yeah, I'm happy to dive in whatever area you want to take me.
So, like, why is it important? Why do you feel and how do we categorize this profession?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. I think how you can categorize this profession is the profession of any entrepreneur running a company in a more technological space. So that would be one way to categorize it. The reason I call it technological is because the solutions that we provide, the products that we provide, are quite technically advanced. And I think the bigger and the better question you're asking here, which is very important, is why is this important? Why is the work that we're doing really important? And I'm sure we've all heard about climate change, right? We've all heard about how the earth is heating, global warming is happening, and we need to take active steps towards using the resources that we have the most effectively. Um, Today, Rushika, one of the most used resource on our planet today is electricity, which we generate through coal. And when you look into it, there is a lot of losses that happen in electricity from the point of generation to the point that it gets to you and me and our houses and our facilities and our manufacturing units. So, anything that we can do as companies to help save this really essential resource that we have is really important in the larger carbon emissions climate change story. So, why is this work important? Because it is making an impact. It is making an impact on the climate. It is making an impact to all of us living on this planet, helping us use our resources better, more effectively, more efficiently.
Oh, so we have our first entrepreneur in this show.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's awesome.
I agree. It's very is. So, as we got to like change in our topic, that raises a lot of questions. Like, firstly,
Okay.
what does this company focus on? Like, how do you drive this company, and like, what's the main agenda of this company?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The main agenda or the focus of this company is to help other companies or utilities solve any challenges that they face with the kind of power that they receive. Right. So this is something that you and I may not have really thought of much, because for us, like power is power. But right before this episode started, you said you had like a power cut happen. And this is something that not just happens with us in our houses, but this is something that happens with, industrial customers whose production depends on like keeping power afloat and making sure there are no power cuts, and even something a little bit deeper than that, the kind of power that they're getting, that needs to be stable, that needs to be pure, which I can get into the details if needed. And our goal as a company is to ensure that we are solving all the challenges that companies face in this kind of world of power quality. So our company is in a very niche segment of helping companies with their power quality challenges. And we do it through understanding what the problem is that the company is facing. We have certain devices that help us kind of understand what these problems are. Like a doctor would have an oscilloscope, or a doctor would have the not oscilloscope, stethoscope. So we do the diagnosis like a doctor would as to what's happening here, why is this company facing challenges, maybe with like a lot of fluctuating electricity, right? Coming in, coming out, maybe not at a very stable level. Then we do recording. So we have recording devices for that. Then we do analysis. So maybe doctor will ask you to get a blood test done, and they will look at the biomarks and they will say, oh, the reason that you feel so fatigued, Rishika, is because you have an iron deficiency. So you need to take iron tablets, right? You need to solve that problem, and then you will not feel that fatigue. So we do that too. So once we understand, okay, this is the problem that my company or this company is facing with their electricity, um, we come up with a solution and we provide that solution to the company. So we're kind of end to end operating in this universe of helping company with their power quality challenges.
So I'm excited to know where from where was this idea born, and like how did it came to execution?
You know, I would be lying if I said I came up with this amazing idea. The idea actually comes from our. We have a company um, based out of Tel Aviv in Israel, which kind of tinkered around, did a lot of technological innovation, deeply rooted in electrical engineering, and came up and understood, oh wow, there is this problem that happens with electricity. And when consumers consume power, and a lot of companies consume a lot of electricity, they need power to be stable, right? They need a certain quality of power. So they started working on it. They started creating all these technological solutions, and recording devices and analyzers and software to really create a gamut of products that the market can adopt. And it is, in fact, my father in law who created our tie up, this joint venture with this foreign entity based out of Israel. And that is how we started this company in India. So I would call myself, I stand here corrected, a second generation entrepreneur, because the roots of this is definitely coming from the family. What you can say is that I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, one giant after the other, and have this unique opportunity now to get this unique solution to the market.
That's amazing, and the way you respect your elders is remarkable. So, without wasting any time, how do you see this solution of yours, this company of yours, shaping in the next 10 years? How do you think this market of technology solutions will change over the next decade?
You know, Rishika, that honestly, it should be my job to think about that question only and spend a lot more time than I honestly do thinking about this question. But you know how I think it will change? Number one, number one, there will be a lot of production coming in from renewable energy on this planet, right? As a whole planet, as Mother Earth, we're all moving towards active steps towards taking active steps towards decarbonization. So that means that we will have a lot of renewable energy production, which means that there will be a lot more demand for the kind of solutions that we're offering. Because without getting into the nitty gritty details of it, energy generation that happens from, let's say, like a windmill or a solar power plant looks very different from the kind of energy that's generated today at thermal power plants. Okay, so in the next 10 years, what will happen is that a larger portion of our energy would be coming from renewable sources, and that would then feed on to our larger grid. Okay, and that grid system would be in 10 years definitely automatically controlled, right? So there would be a lot of like technology in there. The entire grid would be a really smart grid that gets you electricity in your own house. In the future, you would not be just a consumer of electricity, you would also be a producer of electricity. And we're already starting to see that happen with companies and countries, and countries like ours with commercial buildings and residential buildings adopting solar power. So this thing would be very seamless in the future. All of us would be contributing to our own electricity, and the excess would be going onto the grid. And I think a lot will also happen with the space of the grid and artificial intelligence, because at the end of the day, the kind of layers that it takes for us to be able to charge our phone, that is, there's a massive network that gets us the electricity for us to charge our phone in our houses. Okay, and in this massive network there are a lot of losses. Okay, so there can be a lot of optimization done at every kind of level of this transmission or production or generation of electricity, where these losses can be reduced. So I think artificial intelligence will take a very big role coming up front in the next, of course, I think even in the next years, where a lot of automation and optimization will happen. So I think, just to sum it up for you, the two big trends that I'm sure you're aware of already, like number one is renewable energy will take a bigger role. So our grid would get a lot more energy from these sources, and the trend for these kind of devices would be moving upward. And the second thing that will change is that there will be a lot of scope for optimization in this very large infrastructure that already exists. And if I may add just a third trend that's happening, which is maybe not a 10-year trend, but a third trend would be there would be like self-contained microgrids around the world. So let's say you're living in a rural part of Madhya Pradesh, and currently electricity doesn't reach you, you would be able to use, solar power or some kind of power like biofuel or something to create your own electricity, and maybe fuel your entire neighborhood, your entire village. So these kind of microgrids would prop up even more as self-contained units.
Like, I would like to know, as a professional and a person who deals with so much of technology and climate change here and there, what is your views about renewable energy coming to power in the future years?
Yeah, I think it absolutely needs to happen, right? It is critical that we recognize that global warming is a reality today. Today, we see that, massive climate change. We see the impact of it right in our own houses, in our own backyards, right? Our summers are getting harsher, our monsoons are getting more severe, our winters are getting harsher, sea levels are rising. And especially if you visit an island nation, you would see it so clearly that, global warming is affecting not just, let's say, the weather here and there, but it is also affecting people's livelihood. There is displacement happening because of global warming, and so first of all, I think it's important to recognize, which I think mostly the world does, that it is a huge problem. Um, Second of all, when it comes to renewables, I think they're part of the solution to addressing this massive challenge, right? Because today there is CO2 in our atmosphere from industrial age, right? From the industrial revolution era, we still have CO2 in our atmosphere that's heating the planet. There, and I think a lot more players need to come into this space, a lot more technology needs to be put in, because this is one problem that needs global coordination. So this is not India's problem. This is not Madhya Pradesh or Indore's or, whatever, different. It's not one person's problem. It is our collective problem as, people residing on this planet. And my thought on renewable is that it is a very important step that we are taking, adoption of renewables to combat that, because one thing that is not going down is demand for electricity. That is going to keep going up and up and up. We're going to have electric vehicle. We already have electric vehicles. Our consumption is going to increase. We want to watch our Instagram reels. We want our ACs on. Summers are getting more severe, right? So consumption will not go anywhere. It'll keep on increasing. But what what needs to still happen is for the climate to be at a point where it does not heat up our earth more. So renewable is a good kind of a good solution to that problem. Not the only solution, but it is a good solution to the problem.
And so, like, like, how do you see this evolving for us? And like a sub question to it, why do you recommend this profession to the upcoming generation? Like, I agree there is a lot of scope in it, and like there's a necessity to the environment. But then, like, why do you think, except of being doctors, engineers, and everything, why should we come in that specific speed? I mean, caring for apart from caring about the environment, of course.
Yeah, because see, even if you don't care about the environment, first of all, it will affect your generation more than it will affect mine. Right. So maybe care about it if you don't, because it's going to hit you harder. Number one. Number two, it is also a field where it is lucrative. You know, there is a lot of infrastructure investment that's getting put in. So it is not just from the goody goody feel kind of work. It is a field which is massively growing. There's a lot of investment coming in. It is a very lucrative field to be in. So if you are part of this industry, you have a real commercial opportunity as well to grow, right? And that is not just limited to um, kind of the feel good factor that you get from work, but you also have a really like whatever part of this universe you're in of kind of sustainability, you have a real opportunity and infrastructure in India, you have a real opportunity to grow. And number three, do it because I think this work needs you. It needs smart young people to come in. In my experience, I've seen that from what I've seen around me, not a lot of young people are pursuing this industry. Okay, so when I visit a conference or when I go to some other facility or see someone, like they're majorly like people who are older. Okay, and not a lot of young people are taking it up, but there is so much scope in this area and there is such a massive opportunity that people are missing. It's kind of like everyone is attracted to the flashier sides of professions or flashier professions. Now this is a more understated profession, but it is a profession that needs young talent. It needs young blood to come in. It needs innovative thinking. So come for the profession. It needs you, and it is not very crowded. So you can make a mark.
So that's the end of the first session. Without wasting any time, because I'm very excited for the second session. Let's start with the second session. View past, present. All your views of past and present come together. Here it is, the second session. My journey of me. So, like, there's this question which always like troubles me when I'm starting with this session,
Mhm.
is when did you start working towards your achieved goals, right? For example, in when did you decide, okay, you want to pursue this very specific or like this very specific field? So like, when was it?
So I did not decide to go into this very specific field with like a set goal in mind. This field just came to me, and it I would say it happened to me more than I went for it. Um, what I knew, I think I knew I liked this space. So I liked this entire space of sustainability, and I was exploring kind of what are all the different things that I can do, what are all the opportunities that are available to me in this space. And apart from this, a couple more spaces were interesting to me. So what I did, what anyone your age should be doing, which is explore anything that piques your interest. So I explored a couple of different opportunities around me, and this is the one that I decided was worth investing in, putting in the time and worth my while. Um, yeah. So I think what you can take away from this is that career journeys are not, they can be, but they're often not unidirectional, right? So it's not like for someone who, let's say, studied um, finance, or let's say, I'll make it simpler. Like, let's say I studied um, like biology in school, and I really want to be a doctor. Like, of course, I can go down that path and I can become a doctor. But what is the unique thing about our generation today, Rushika, that perhaps like the generations before us did not have the luxury of doing, is that our career journeys are going to look very different. We can really move around industries. We can really, take lateral jobs. Skill sets really transfer over. So, as someone interested in biology, I can become a consultant if I want. I can pursue medicine and become a doctor. I can join a strategic organization and, maybe a pharma company, and my biology skill set would still come into use. So, yeah, essentially, my journey is not very linear. I did not really look out for this specific work that I'm doing. It just kind of happened to me, and I looked at multiple opportunities before deciding that this was one worth pursuing.
And like, so when you got into the field, okay, let's do a time, let's change the timeline, okay? Like, you
Okay.
got into the field, what was the first goal you planned and achieved? And like, how did you feel like, and how did you achieve it?
Yeah, no, that is a really good question, and it's really making me think what was my first goal? I think my first goal was just to like, understand what this company is. So, to give you a little bit of context, Rishika, I have a background in economics and computer science. So, that's what I studied in college, and this company is a pure kind of electrical engineering company. So the first goal that I set out for myself was, let me actually understand what we do. Let me understand the concepts. What is power quality? What is the product line? How is it helping someone? Is it really helping something? Is it really helping someone? Is there really like, something that I can add value to in this organization? So that was my first goal, and I think it was a relatively easy goal that I set out for myself, because I just had to like enter and do a quick kind of crash course on electrical engineering and do a deep dive into the product line.
Like, okay, again, a time swap. What was your view about the profession or this field when you were 10 years old?
I had no idea this profession existed when I was 10. And there's so many professions that I did not know existed when I was 10 that, you know, I have done, or um, I have seen my friends do. So, yeah, I had no views.
That's why you should watch Calligraphy with Rishika to know about professions at a young age.
Yeah.
What was your parents' response when you were juggling between what profession to pick and when you finally picked the, the specific field?
Yeah, so again, okay, so I'll take a step back here again and explain a little bit more about my background. So, I have always been someone who's been interested in multiple fields, right? So, I was in high school, I was really interested in arts, visual arts. I was also interested in economics. I was really interested in math. I was also interested in physics. So, I was never someone who had like one linear interest. And then when I got to college, I the world opened up even more, and I took on something like, economics and computer science, but I also loved things like psychology. I really like psychology. I really liked some of the religion classes that I took. I really loved an intro to linguistics course. So I always knew that kind of I was more inclined towards a more generalist skill set. And my specific kind of strengths kind of lied in the intersection of business and technology. Because I had a background in economics in college as well as computer science, I found that intersection of business and technology super interesting. So, what that led me to do is, then I worked as a product manager in big tech. So, what is that job again? That job is essentially you're a mini CEO of a product. and you work with engineers and you work with designers and you work with marketeers to make that product successful. So that is the role that I worked in a very professional capacity for a couple of years. And once I got out of that role, I knew this about myself. I'm still a person with a lot of varied interests, right? I'm still someone who would consider myself a generalist. But that intersection between business and technology is still very interesting to me. And what I got a flavor of at my professional journey beforehand was having a lot of ownership as this mini CEO of a specific product area. So then the transition into the company, Elspec, made a lot of sense because as someone running the organization, um, as a director of strategy, the technology aspect already exists in the company, and a lot of work has to be on the business side of things. And that is really interesting to me because that intersection kind of continues to excite me. It continues to invigorate me, and I think what I realized over the years is that I still don't know where life would, take me, let's say 10 years down the line. So I still continue to hold varied interests. And perhaps it is going to be, taking LSPEC to another dimension. Sometimes I think maybe I should learn from Rushika and become a podcast host. Sometimes I wonder if, an intersection between technology and business in the space of like investing or venture capital could be interesting. Sometimes I'm also curious about the startup world. Sometimes I really want to pursue like art. So, to be honest with you, I do not know exactly 10 years down the line where this path will take me. But what I do know is that professionally, where I am as someone who has varied interests, this intersection has always excited me. So yeah, that's what I'll leave you with.
That's a very puzzling equation, I must say.
Yeah.
Like in this journey of yours, every day wouldn't have been the best day of your life, right? You would have your ups and downs. So what was some of your disappointments you have throughout the years which you then overcome?
Yeah, so honestly, great question. The first thing, which is the hardest one actually, is figuring out you know where you can truly add value to the organization. So as I told you before, Rishika, I joined an existing organization and I joined in a strategic role. And one of the things I had to do is kind of take a step back and think about, okay, this organization is working without me. Okay, so if I join the organization, where do I come in and add value? And that thinking of there are specific places where I can add value. Um that that was very challenging for me initially, okay, because from kind of uh a bird's eye view, I felt like, wow, like everyone's great, everything's great, things are moving well, so what will be the value of me coming in? Should I come in even? Okay, but then I quickly realized as I got in and saw the details that there were a lot of opportunities inside the company for improvement. The devil is truly in the details. So when I really, joined the company, started working, talking to people, seeing the day to day, that was one thing where I was able to. Kind of the setback was like I wasn't sure I would be able to add any value into the organization, but then, kind of going into the details, I realized there was a lot of value that I could add. That's number one. Number two is that sales, right? I do not have sales experience at all. Like, I have not done any product sales before, and my experience has been more on the building side of things. So when I came into this organization, it is a largely sales driven organization, and getting to sale and getting to that first sale it took me months to get to a point where I was like, okay, yeah, like I am able to do that. And I think that's true for like learning any skill set. But to me, coming in as the least experienced person sitting at the top of the organization without an electrical engineering background who does not know what they're doing and cannot sell, I think it took a lot of it. I took a lot of it very personally when, sales did not come in after I joined in for a couple of months. Well, what solved it? The sale finally came, and that was a good boost of motivation. And yeah, I think really I would still say that I still have to be patient and give myself the time that it needs because I've only been in this company for about 6 months now. So I'm still relatively new to this organization, but I think a lot of these things are kind of like fading away as I'm making I think at this point, like I'm fully transitioned into the organization.
So now let's ask advice based question. So what are your
Hmm.
two advices for the field? What are the two characteristics of a person which can help them succeed in the field?
I think the first characteristic of someone who can succeed in this field is someone who has great communication skills because a lot of the job is kind of explaining what is it that you're offering, what is the value of what you bring, what is the problem that needs to be solved, what will be the impact of the problem is solved, talking to customers, talking to clients, talking to prospects, and so on. So great communication skills. And I think the second thing is someone who has a lot of perseverance. So you can kind of you would be successful in this position and in this field if you're very perseverant, right? So if you can stick it out, if you can um, stay in and put in the work day in day out, day after day, knowing that the process on the cycle for these companies and the sales cycle is a little bit longer term, and you still continue to be perseverant, I think you'll be successful.
Like, how do you think, how important is it to know English in the field?
No, it's not very, very important. Except for the fact like all communication does happen in English. So yeah, I was joking. It is important to know English, but as long as you have good conversational English skills, you do not need to be, I don't think you need to be like very great and eloquent English speaker. As long as you have still good communication skills, you can get by with knowing good enough English where you can explain your concepts to the customer, understand the customer's need.
So, like, अगर इंग्लिश की बात हो ही रही है तो do you think a great college can make a better, can get you a better foundation in this field?
Yeah, I think a great college can certainly help you kind of get a good start in this field. But I think a lot of the learning in this field is on the job. So you can go to a great college, get a head start. It can open up a lot of doors for you. You can understand, where are the different opportunities, what are the different companies like. Um, Join one of them. But a lot of the learning is what the college will not teach you, and a lot of the learning is on the job.
So, like, where did you went for college? Like, when you were in college time. So, where did you go?
So I went to Columbia University in New York. It is an Ivy League university, and I went in 2017.
So what will be your two advices for people who are trying to get into Ivy League colleges?
Yeah, I think number one, Ivy League institutions look for not grades or activities or essays. They look for grades and activities and essays. which means that which means that you need everything. Like you need good grades, so you need to be in the top 1% of the class. You need good standardized testing scores, which means that you need to be in the top 1 percentile for whatever standardized tests you give, like SATs or ACTs. You need to have really solid extracurriculars, and you need to have a really good kind of application with the essays. So that's my first thing. Do become really good at the things that you can control, like the activities. And number two, I think way more than kind of the education system in India, they look for a really good story. And for someone like you who's already a storyteller, they want to know why is it that you're interested in coming to their institution? Who are you as a person? What will this institution give to you? And for them, kind of the philosophy that they follow is that past success is a very good predictor for future success. So, if you can show them that you've been successful in the past in whatever endeavors that you have picked, and you can show them that story where you took on an endeavor, you went through all the ups and downs of it, and you succeeded, they see that as a really valuable, they see you as a hero, and they want to kind of take in a hero with a story who will continue to become a hero with a story after their college as well.
Like, what was your story? How did you
Yeah.
dive into it?
Yeah, so my story was of a girl um, living in a tier 2 city like Jaipur who saw a lot of shame experienced by young women due to stigma coming from menstruation, so menstrual stigma, even in kind of elite institutions and elite high schools and high school that I went to. And my story was about combating that stigma with two of the things that I really liked, one of which was art. So I made a lot of art installations, public art. And the second one was economics. So I worked with non-profits, created a non-profit to, help, uh, underprivileged women kind of earn an income, be able to buy their own menstrual hygiene products. Create a more sustainable livelihood. And that was kind of my arc in the application.
So it was like a NGO working for underprivileged women.
Yeah, so I started a non-profit working for underprivileged women. And
Sorry to interrupt,
sorry,
but how old were you when you drove this campaign?
I think I was 16 when I started. So I was in school, and yeah, it was me and my best friends, and we had so much fun. During the weekends, we would go to this non-profit that had very graciously agreed to give us space. And we would go there with sorts of like swing machines, and we would experiment with a lot of saleable products and saleable skills that we could learn and teach with all these women who were much older than us. So all the women that we engaged with, they all had, they were all from lower income backgrounds. They were mostly either stay at home wives or domestic kind of workers, like house help. And we would sit with them, play with them, learn teachable skills. We taught them some computer skills, programming skills. One of them started her own business, like using that computer, and started selling her products online, which was really awesome. And I think all of us got inspired by this kind of idea of microfinance that we were studying in developmental economics in school. So that really was the start. But the problem of period poverty that we discovered was also when we were interacting with the women in our NGO, right? So when we were in this non-profit, we had started it, and we would talk to these women, and they would tell us how they were using really unhygienic, dirty rags during their periods to ensure that those were the kind of sanitary measures that they were taking. And we were really shocked because all of us had access to very safe menstrual hygiene products like pads from the very start. So we were like, wow, like, for us, maybe it is a stigma. In a school, like from a school perspective, where people would go around and snicker and make jokes and get embarrassed about periods. But when we see the society, it is a real health challenge that a lot of people are facing just because they don't have access to clean and hygienic menstrual hygiene products, right? So those were the two worlds that kind of came together, the non-profit world as well as like our lived experience in school. And that is kind of the route that me and my friends took to then address it. So we had the opportunity to then give a TED talk about period stigma, TEDx talk. So we were able to kind of put the message out in our universe, in our school, in our high school, and all of us also were lucky to have each other, and all of us had some creative interest and bent. So we made a lot of visual art work, kind of exposing the stigma, putting it out, removing it from kind of the black curtains it's kind of hidden under. And yeah, so I really had a blast in high school working on this, and grew a lot from this experience as well.
That's the end of the second session, and the story of yours was quite inspiring, and even your career professional path journey was very, very inspiring. I'm sure many of our viewers are now very educated about technology. The company Elspec, which works for technological solutions, and also about climate, how is climate change impacting, and via your small story we're also educated about everything, every small health challenge people face because of your delighted experiences. I am very thankful. Yeah, that's it. This is your friend Rushika Khare signing off.
Awesome. Thank you, Rushika. Thank you very much.